Story 1. Meet Joyland Amusement Park. Trevor, Kevin, and I always wanted a real scare, and our late-night adventures often took us to the creepiest places we could find. One night we decided to explore Joyland, an abandoned amusement park in Kansas. The park has been closed for many years, its decaying rides and buildings still standing as silent, macabre reminders of its past. It was only a 10-minute drive from our neighborhood, and we thought it would be the perfect spot for a midnight cruise. We packed flashlights, backpacks, and shoes, ready for anything we might encounter. Kevin, always the boldest of the group, led the way. "This place is going to be great," he whispered as we approached the park. Trevor and I followed, our voices whispering as we nervously joked about Kevin's eagerness. The park is surrounded by forests, creating an isolated, almost claustrophobic atmosphere. As we walked deeper, carnival tents appeared around us, walls covered in graffiti, littered with cans and bottles. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the chirping of crickets and the occasional rustle in the bushes. "You hear that?" Trevor asked, his voice little more than a whisper. We were all dumbfounded, listening intently. Suddenly, the sound of a broken glass bottle echoed throughout the night. "It's coming from over there." I pointed towards the larger building, my heart pounding. Kevin led the way, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. As we approached, we saw a person standing at the corner of the Wacky Shack attraction. The figure was strangely motionless, facing the wall. "What is that thing?" Kevin muttered, his courage wavering. "We need to get out of here," I whispered urgently. We started to back away, trying to move quietly. But then, the inevitable happened. Trevor stepped on a beer can with a loud crack. The figure suddenly turned towards us at an unusual speed. It was a man, his face contorted in a strange expression. "Run," Kevin shouted. "We don't need to be reminded a second time." We sprinted towards the forest, our breathing coming in short gasps. Halfway to the car, Kevin glanced back. I turned around and saw the man standing stiffly next to a tree, just a few meters away. Panic rose within us, and we ran even faster. We reached the car, and Kevin fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking. "Let's go, let's go," Trevor urged, glancing over his shoulder nervously. Finally, we piled into the car and slammed the doors. As we sped away, I looked out the window and saw the man again, standing hunched over the tree line. He didn't move a muscle. This experience haunted us. The image of that motionless figure was imprinted in our minds. Story 2. Children get lost in an amusement park. A road trip to South Florida was supposed to be a fun family adventure, but after 2 long days on the road, my kids were starting to get restless. When I saw an amusement park sign, I decided to stop for a bit to rest. The park was run down and almost deserted, but my 7-year-old son, Tommy, enjoyed it. The boy ran ahead, eager to explore, with Trish, my 5-year-old daughter, more cautiously following. "Stay nearby," I called after my son, but he was already out of sight. Panic flared in my chest as my wife and I yelled for him to come back. When he didn't answer, I told my wife to stay with Trish while I went to find Tommy. I ran through the park, my heart pounding. The ruined rides and empty stands seemed to close in around me. I found a worker and described Tommy, hoping they could help. They called his name over the loudspeaker as I continued my frantic search. Then I saw him. Tommy was standing next to a wall of bushes near a bathroom building, talking to someone hidden in the foliage. "Tommy!" I screamed, but before I could reach him, he was dragged into the bushes. Desperation gave me strength as I pushed through the bushes, grabbing Tommy's arm. I felt a strong pull from the other side, but suddenly it let go. I pulled Tommy to safety, my heart pounding. "Who are you talking to?" I asked, shaking with fear. "Josh," Tommy said simply. "He said he wanted to show you something." "George, what does he look like?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "He is old," Tommy replied, eyes wide and confused. I walked him back to the entrance, where we described George to the workers before leaving the park immediately. The rest of our trip was overshadowed by that incident. The fear of almost losing Tommy haunted me, and I couldn't escape the image of the boy being dragged into the bushes by an invisible stranger. Story 3. Explore Thrillville, USA. On a dark, gloomy evening in 2009, curiosity prevailed. I decided to revisit Thrillville, USA, a small amusement park where I worked many years ago. The park had been abandoned for 2 years, and I was interested to see what was left. As I drove into the empty parking lot, the overgrown grass and looming clouds created an unsettling atmosphere. It's easy to sneak in. There are no fences or security to keep out intruders. The park was much creepier than I remembered. Most of the buildings are still standing but have seriously degraded. The rain started to fall, but I didn't mind. I was dressed appropriately for the weather. Armed with my Canon camera, I wandered around the park, taking photos of the dilapidated roller coaster, the old yellow slide now covered in mud, and many other abandoned attractions. As I went deeper, a cold feeling of unease enveloped me. The park was eerily silent, except for the occasional rustling of leaves in the wind. After that, I went to the men's restroom. Stepping inside, I felt the temperature drop immediately. It was pitch black, so I used my camera flash to light the way, like in a horror movie. I took photos of the sink and mirror, checking the image quality. Suddenly, I heard a faint ding from the bathroom stalls. Pounding as I called. "Hello, is anyone there?" There are 2 stalls. I cautiously approached the first stall and pushed the door open, only to find an empty restroom. The second stall door was more difficult to open, and a growing sense of dread rose within me. Mustering all my courage, I took a deep breath and took a photo. The flash revealed a tall, shadowy figure looming above me. Panic welled up inside me. I slammed the bathroom door shut and rushed out of the bathroom, rushing back to my car. Once safely inside, I looked at the photo again with trembling hands. A dark figure, about 6 feet 3 inches tall, standing in front of the toilet, face indistinguishable and blurred. Trembling, I reviewed other photos from my visit. A worrying pattern emerges. In 4 out of 10 photos, a figure lurks in the background, always watching me from the woods or behind buildings. Realizing that made my blood run cold. This experience made me extremely uneasy. I don't dare look at those photos again. Those haunting images are seared into my memory, a cold reminder of that fateful night at Thrillville, USA. Story 4. Haunted Ferris Wheel. The sun had just dipped below the horizon when my friends and I arrived at the old abandoned festival on the outskirts of town. The park has been closed for decades, a relic of tragic accidents and whispered urban legend. Armed with flashlights, we decided to explore its quaint grounds. Pushing open the rusty entrance gate, we entered the rotten world. Once vibrant, rides and attractions are now ghostly skeletons, overgrown with weeds and covered in graffiti. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and rotting wood, and an oppressive silence filled the place. As we advanced deeper, our flashlights flickered, casting long dancing shadows. The further you go, the stronger the feeling of insecurity becomes. Then we saw the old merry-go-round. Unlike the rest of the park, it looks eerily intact, its once bright colors now faded but still visible. The horses, frozen mid-gallop, seemed to stare at us with sunken eyes. Lured by curiosity and fear, we headed to the Ferris wheel. The wooden floor creaked under our weight, and a cold wind blew through, causing the music of the Ferris wheel to play softly. A strange glow emanated from the lamps, casting an unnatural glow over the scene. Without warning, the lights of the merry-go-round flashed on. The ancient, haunting strains of carnival music began to play, and the merry-go-round began to spin, slowly at first, then faster. We stood there in shock, unable to understand what was happening. The horses' eyes seemed to glow with a sinister red light, and shadows danced around us, taking on distorted, nightmarish shapes. As the Ferris wheel spun faster, an invisible force seemed to pull us back to its center. I saw a figure standing just outside the edge of the Ferris wheel, a man wearing the tattered clothes of a carnival vendor. His face was pale and gaunt, his eyes dark and sunken. He raised one hand, and the music of the Ferris wheel became louder, more frantic. Panic rose within us as we tried to escape the confines of the Ferris wheel. Finally, with a desperate rush, we broke free and fell to the ground. The music stopped suddenly, and the Ferris wheel stopped completely. We didn't look back as we ran for the exit, our hearts pounding and our breathing ragged. The festival gates slammed shut behind us, as if locking us out of a nightmare. We collapsed in the safety of the car, shaking with fear and disbelief. As we drove away, The Ferris wheel's lights flickered one last time, casting a ghostly glow over the abandoned park. The haunting melody of the carousel's music echoed in our minds, a chilling reminder of the night we faced the horrors of the haunted carousel.